Okay. Can I firstly have your name?
Yeah, my name is Mr. T.R. Bhardwaj.
Okay, and your place of birth?
Village Wazid Wal, district Fagwara, or you can call Tehsil Fagwara in those days. I was born in 1939.
Okay. And can we firstly talk about your childhood? Was it a good childhood?
I think it was a wonderful childhood. I was born in a very, very small village where you can find still there are 10 or 12 houses. But when I was born, there was only 3 houses there. And there was only one community, is Brahmin community, who was living over there, and they were all farmers, very big farmers. We have got 10 or 12 houses, you can call, we used to call them the helpers, who could come and help us. It was a remote village, but still I have got wonderful childhood memories. There was no school in our village at that very time, and there was a nearby village called Village Meli. I started my educational career when I was 8 or 9 years old, but I was taught at home. My Babaji, he was a very learned person, because he thought, I will get tired because I got to move 2 or 3 miles away from the village. But eventually, when I was 8 or 9, I was admitted at primary school in Meli village, district Jalandhar.
Did you have many friends in those days?
Very, very good friends, because not many families were living, and we were very close to each other. And in the morning, we used to help with the work which our parents did, grazing the cows, helping cutting the crops and grass and everything for the family. We got to get up very early in the morning because there was no tubes, no tractors of that nature. We got to do quite a bit of work before we could be allowed to go to the school, because my father was the only son of his parents. He depended on me, basically, because nobody else was there to help him. So for 3 generations, we always had one male child. So we were very fortunate this time. We are 4 brothers. The things were working all right, in my childhood.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Was your childhood very strict, or was your parents very easygoing?
My father was very strict, but my grandfather wasn't very strict. And he always wanted me to be well educated, because my father wasn't very well educated. He just passed middle class school, and then he stopped because he was the only son, and nobody. It was 1947 when the Muslim people have to go to Pakistan. So because we had 125 acres of land, they used to cultivate that one. But at the end, we have to do ourselves. We started farming and that sort of thing then with time. But my father was very strict on conduct code. You know, he never ever drank or smoke or gamble. Um, what he was fond of us, you know, we should have a very good health. But he always kept us under control, so to say, you know. We were not afraid of, in the sense, you know, oh, he's a awful man, and that type of things. Is a lovable father, but strict in the sense, you know, that
He wanted you to do well.
That's it, yeah.
Okay. Was you ambitious when you were young?
I was very ambitious. I wanted to be well educated to start with, because in that village at that very time there was nobody who was well educated. And my grandfather, from the very beginning, he oriented my attention towards that goal. He wanted me to do my MA first and then start my vocational career and all that. But eventually I was married. I was engaged rather when I was only 8 or 9 years old.
That early?
Yeah, that early. And then, according to my circumstances, we got married when I was only 20 years old and my wife was only 16 or 13. And obviously we got married, but I didn't bring my wife so soon. Nearly after 3 years. We stayed in our own village and she stayed in his own village. But we never thought about these things as now youngster think things. I was a very happy child, very happy child. I always liked the villages, you know. If some women are going out, they will say, "Can you take my son? Can he stay with me 2 or 3 hours?" That sort of things, as a very close community. And we have some, you know, these downtrodden people, or scheduled caste people. I loved them. All my house. I used to eat in their house, drink milk and all that. But my grandma never liked it, you know.
Because they were out of
the caste, that sort of things. But I never, from the very beginning, thought in that way. They are untouchable and all that. You know, I used to go to there. They used to love me because we were Nambardar, head men of 2 villages. So we used to collect the revenue and used to pay at the courts and that sort of things. So I had very good friends.
Was you expected to go out and work from your parents and come fend for the family?
No, my father and grandfather never wanted me to go out of the village. There was certain reasons, you know. My father wanted me to be a well-educated person, but at the same time he didn't want me to go somewhere else or go to some other country. Was very, very difficult to think at that very time. But I did my graduation and B.Ed from Fagwara Day College there. And then later on I got married. And I thought, you know, it's better to have a job now rather than staying in the village. We have relations in Delhi in a very high place. So I managed to go to my Puaji. And So in 1960 I came to Delhi, and I was appointed as a infant primary teacher because there was no other place left in that particular school. In Delhi, and that is in Lajpat Nagar SD Sanatam Dharm School, I was infant teacher there, then junior teacher, then lecturer, and then head for the second shift. So I progressed quite. I used to come during the holidays to my village, and I used to do all the work which farmers do. I used to cut crops and weeds and all that, and used to help them as well.
Did your siblings stay in your home village?
Pardon?
Your siblings, your brothers and sisters?
Oh yes, they were all living in the village, but they were, from a very early stage, they were in various schools, primary schools and all that. My sisters, I got 5 sisters and 4 brothers.
Big family.
Big family, and the sisters never ever went to school. We taught them at home by a tutor and something like that.
Did you have a good relationship with your
Oh
brothers and sisters?
yes, very, 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 very good, close relations with the sisters and all that. And my younger brother, he helped me a lot. He never wanted to go to school and all that. So he was a proper farmer. He used to give me money offhand to make sure, I'm all right at college and school as well. And my sisters and my puajis also, because I seems to be harmful at that very time. So they used to pay a special attention towards
Was
me,
you the youngest in the
the family. No, eldest.
Oh, you was the
The
eldest?
eldest. Yeah, I got the eldest sister, and I was second in the
Alright.
command because I was a boy. So they
You were
paid
the
more
eldest. Yeah.
attention, that sort of things.
Did you enjoy studying? Was you a good student?
Yes, I was a very good student, but the pity was there used to be a lot of work. Soon I was coming from the school. My father make a list of the work which I have to do because he was depending on me. Other children were very younger, so yeah. Then my second brother as well. But I used to have a very, very sharp memory. I never study at home when I used to come back. But I used to do my homework and everything during the recess time. I used to know that when soon I go home, I will be showered with the work, do that, and you have to do that, and that sort of things.
Was your parents religious?
My grandfather was very religious. My father wasn't religious in a strict sense, but he was humanitarian. I had a very good influence from my grandfather. Because my father was not well educated, he could not tell me about the religions and that sort of things, because he himself was not a very religious sort of a person. Living in a village, nobody really concerns about the religion really at that very
Are you
time.
religious now though?
Well, not in a way people think because I am a Hindu and a Brahmin I should be very strict and all that. Although I am a General Secretary of Sri Krishna Temple, and I'm from the very inception, I was a member of interfaith group as well. So I had my previous roots as well within the community. So still, I feel the religion can show you the path of faith, which is very, of course, very important. But at the same time, you should not discard other religions because they are equally good, maybe better. Nobody knows.
You say you found a job in Delhi. Was the pay very well, or was it not as good?
No, I was paid 138 rupees per month. 138 rupees. My wife was living in the village. I couldn't bring her
She was
to
living
Delhi.
with your parents?
Parents. She was living in my parents. I had a son and a daughter at that very time. I was living with my Puaji then. I used to ride on a cycle to various new places because I was very new to Delhi also. So I used to spend all my money, £138, drinking coffee at Regal Cinema in Connaught Place. It was a wonderful life. Then I progressed a lot. Within 3 or 4 years, I was promoted to a senior teacher, and I did MA in economics from the Delhi University privately while I was head teacher of the second shift at Lajpat Nagar.
Is there anything else you want to tell me about your childhood? Any vivid memories?
Well, I wasn't a sort of a lonely person. I was very a bubbly person. Whenever there is any wedding, because there was only 4 or 5 houses at that very time, and I was very fond of watching the people dancing. I used to go with my Puajis and sisters at night, you know, when men goes to other village to take the boy with them. So all the ladies were left in the village, and they used to enjoy themselves. They used to play gidda, a sort of a dance in India. I was very fond of that one then. I was a very kind sort of a person. I remember very vividly, I was reading on my well under a tree. I saw a very, very old lady walking on the road. She could hardly walk, and she had a sort of a bag which she could not carry, and she wanted to go another village very near to that village, and it was the evening time, 7 or 8. So I went for help, and I brought her home because she couldn't walk. And I remember my mother and grandfather saying, "You are an angel. She will bless you." And the next day, I took her luggage and went with her to her village. Still, I remember her blessing, and she said, "One day, whatever you would wish, your wishes will be granted." So, still, I remember that one. Helping somebody help you inside as well. The other thing, I always wanted to be a maths teacher. I was interested how a young child can be taught maths. I used to think many hours also how the things can be make easier for the younger children. When I was in Delhi, I applied those things. They were very helpful, and I never thought by punishing a child you can teach better. It is a very wrong thing to do. I'm a God-loving and God-fearing person, and I will not hurt anybody's feeling and all that. I will not do something which I think is morally wrong. I should not do. I earn my living honestly. I never deceive anybody. Whatever I earn, I spend on my family. Never ever did anything wrong consciously. That's it.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we talk about migration now?
Right. Yes.
Okay.
When I was.
Do you want me to just ask you?
Yeah.
Why did you decide to leave your home country?
Right. Yes. That's what I'm going to.
Overload.
Right. Yeah. While I was in Delhi, I never thought I will go to another country or will manage to go because of the pressure of my parents as well. Now, one of my wife's brother used to live over here in England, and all my in-laws, my father-in-law, he was living in Fiji. Now, my younger brother-in-law, or the middle one, he got married in Fiji. He brought his wife over here. He couldn't get on well with her, and he sent his wife back to Fiji. My father-in-law wrote me at Delhi that I was the only source who could come to this country and sort this problem out. So I wanted to help because he used to write me letters too often and all that. So I applied. I said, I will try to help you. I applied. Within 21 days, I had a voucher from England for work. Then I have to go to the village to tell my parents that I'm going. So I managed to persuade them. I said I'm going just for a year or so on leave. So I applied for the leave also. So they gave me 2 years that I could come over here and go back and take my job. When I came over here, to start with, I was not used for that type of dirty physical work in the foundries and that sort of things. I tried to persuade my brother-in-law. Then he agreed. Then I wrote a letter to Fiji, to girl's father, saying, I'm here, I will take the full responsibility and you can send your daughter without any worry. So somehow, when I wrote, my letter was so forceful, he agreed. And she came over here. Then I called my wife as well, just for the company's sake. We lived together 2 or 3 days, then 2 or 3 years. My brother-in-law was a bus driver. He had a very bad company. Then obviously They had a boy. Then I wrote my eldest brother-in-law in Canada. I said, your brother is not having a very good company. If you can manage to invite him to Canada, that will be a wonderful thing. So he did. So he settled there. They're living happily. That was the only reason I came with. But when I came over here, it's very difficult to go back. Very difficult. I found a work in a London manufacturing company, very small, and within 3 or 4 months I was taught the various things, drilling, building, painting, and later on they made me foreman of Asian people, including 10 white people also, who was loaders, drivers, electricians. So I became a foreman from 1965 to 67 or 68. So I was very fortunate. But my health was very good. I tried to understand the English culture as well. Colloquialism was the point. When I came over, I couldn't understand what they're saying really. But later on, I developed that technique and became very popular within that circle. That was the main reason when I came, my family, and to sacrifice even my job also for the sake of my in-laws' family as well.
Did your wife come over like within
After 2 years, she came in 22nd of March 1967, and I came to this country 29th of November 1965.
Did your children come over with your wife?
Yes, the 2 eldest children, Raj and Pinky, they came with her. And then we had another 2 children, Rajesh and Renu, later on in this country.
Did you, is this what you expected when you came over? Was it what you expected?
Now when I came over here, because I was well educated, I knew the administrations in education side as well. I thought there will be no problem finding a job. But when I came over here, I applied 2 or 3 years. There was no hope at all. I was not very conversant in English, perhaps at that very time. That could be the reason. So, because my wife, I knew the wife wanted to come over here. She couldn't stay in the village. I got to find the work so that I could send some money for my 2 children who were left in India, and we also need a house when my wife comes, and we stay in that sort of. I thought, it will be a wonderful time. There was a lot of money. England is England. People are very good and charming and all that. But when I saw the actual thing, then I found it's not all green. You got to work hard. You got to stand on your legs yourself. And I didn't have any relation except my brother-in-law. Obviously, he was not having enough money or good reputation with the community then.
Was there any racism when you moved to England?
Oh yes, it's a lot. At that very time, we never thought this word racism. Never. We always thought, oh, because he's a white man, he is superior, he knows everything. We got to, submit to him what he's saying and all that. We were not aware of our rights. We were not aware, actually, what our rights and all that. But fortunately, when I was made a foreman as well, I think I work twice harder than other white foremen in my factory as well. They began to feel very jealous of me because I had 270 people working under me, and all the laboring work, painting, the menial work they used to give to those people. I remember after spending 4 or 5 years in one factory, that factory was closed in 1967. Then I had an accident. I bought a motorbike, and during the snow season I was slept. I broke my wrist. But then, because my family was here, I could read and write. I wrote a few applications to the various factories and told them what I have done and what I know. So there was one factory in Wednesfield. They gave me appointment as a casting inspector. My main job was to pick up the maps and graphs and whatever, and then show to a new inspector coming from another factory. So my responsibility was to make sure that casting is get checked, grinded and whatever, made ready and put on the deck for transporting. There was a very old man working in that foundry, making anvils. He was a very old man, but he was very, very skillful person. Now, when you are making an anvil, you got to make sure the right temperature. There was no gauge, nothing of that nature. Nowadays, you can measure the temperatures and all that. But that an old man had an eye for the temperature, and he worked 3 or 4 years there. But that person was paid a laborer's wage all the time. Now, because I was very popular in my own area also, some more people were introduced to me in that foundry. They made me union steward. So when I found that person working there lonely with no help, I went to him and I sat with him. Then he told me his story and all that. I reported to the union, and those people came, and the instructor me asked the management committee to give you the list of all the jobs our own people doing. So they give so when I looked at that old man's job description, he was just a laborer. So I invite the higher officials, and there was 2 or 3 other person like him also. So that old man was paid compensation nearly £2,000 in 1967. Then those people, they were feeling very jealousy about me. They used to ignore me, um, used to criticize my work. That work is not ready, that sort of thing. But I stood for that one. Later on, I thought, what is the use of having a post-graduation degree and the teaching professional degree? Why not to apply now? Because I was aware of more or less everything as well. I was thinking. Now, in those days, there was a department called Multicultural Education Department, and those people used to take up all the new immigrant children coming from Asian countries, and they used to teach them. And they had sort of a festivity in the evening, inviting a lot of community people and some white people as well, what they should be doing, and they were showing off what they are doing really. So they invited me as well. So they asked me if I would like to say a few words. So I talked nearly 10 minutes, and I sat at the back after delivering what I wanted to say. Then somebody came to me. I had a bandage on my left arm as well. Somebody called Mr. Craigie. He was a Scottish lecturer responsible for immigrant trained teachers who were already trained, and he was giving them training. And when he came to me, he said, well, you have done well, haven't you? Within 10 minutes, you rounded the whole thing very precisely. He said, may I ask you what sort of work you were doing? So I told him, as a teacher. And he said, it's the right time. You will be paid nearly £2,000 plus other things if you join this teacher training course. It was 14 months teacher training course, and I did. I went for interview, I went for written exam and everything. So later on, after 14 months training, I applied for the teaching job various places. So I applied in London, Manchester, various places. So I got a job from 5 places. 2 places I think were in London, and on one place, I think it was Essex. I was just going to say yes, and I wrote a letter and was going to go to post the letter. And on the way, a postman called me, said, here's your letter. And that letter was from Wolverhampton Education Committee, and they selected me in Wednesfield Long Knoll School. So I was very happy and extremely thankful to God that I bought a house. My children were in various schools over here also. I didn't want to move. So I'm still thinking that God helped me to put my career right in Wolverhampton.
at the time? Was you happy with the move?
Yes, it was exciting. In those days, if you are a teacher, people will perhaps respect you more. But when you are in a school, the story was different. You got to work very hard because the new things, although you have learned in training and all that, but when you actually apply them within the class, it becomes a problem as well. But I was lucky. I had a very good head teacher. She trained me just as her son, and she also gave me the responsibility for training younger children for football as well. I remember one instance in Wednesfield. If you are a trainer for the younger children in a school, you got to have a meeting, a monthly meeting to do the fixtures and that sort of things. And I remember when I attended once for the first time this football meeting, and everybody was staring at me. I just sit in a corner, and I knew what is in the mind of all those trainers and that. Within 2 years, I came first in the league in that area, and then I was known as Mr. TR, a very popular person, and I enjoyed my football career as well. Then later on, I spent nearly 12 or 13 years in that school. Then I was also thinking of moving. Now the numbers were coming down, so there were 2 or 3 teachers who also wanted to move. Now obviously I knew nobody will dare to move me because I was a very useful staff member, because I was responsible for training football, and I was in a lower scale as well. So they were getting a lot of things free and all that. Then there were 2 persons who were asked to move from various other schools. And unfortunately, I had a very good friend, lady friend. Her husband died, and she was living in Wednesfield. And the circumstances changed. She didn't want to move. So I had the opportunity, I opted for her only on one condition. Now there is a rule at that very time. If you have taught 10 or 12 years, you can apply for secondment. So I applied for the movement from that school on the basis that I should be given 1 year's secondment in maths. So it was granted. So I spent 1 wonderful year at West Hill College in Birmingham. Then from there, they offered me various other schools, but I liked the Bingley school best because 90% they were immigrant children, and I thought, having so much knowledge about our own community and all that, I should be more useful over here. So I was at the end given a scale post also over there. They gave me discipline responsibility as well, and they also gave me the responsibility to run the Saturday school as well. So since then I'm running that school.
Do you feel that your family was ever discriminated against?
Perhaps many times. I don't know about.
What time did you
Yes, my wife worked nearly 14 years in a factory. She was discriminated too often. The type of work she was doing, she was paid very low wages. On the other hand, the white people were paid more, and she used to do a lot of extra work as well. My daughter, Pinky, who is a deputy head at Marydale School, she has been discriminated heavily. She was made head teacher 2 years because the head teacher moved away, and she worked 2 years acting head teacher. At the end, she also applied for the post, but she was not even shortlisted for the post. I wanted her to go to the Equality Council on that. And she said, "Dad, I have to work nearly 20 more years. I don't want that type of thing. My reputation will be tarnished." But still, our youngsters are still feeling that on the basis of color and race, they are still being discriminated, which is very sad. But the things are improving in many ways, but still we got to go a long way.
Looking back now, do you think things have changed in Wolverhampton?
Yes, the things have changed quite a bit. In 1974, we started thinking, our own Asian community, that we need an association and organization of every culture, creed and religion, especially in Wolverhampton because of Nick Powell. He made this city eyesore nationally when he delivered the lecture in Dudley many years ago. Now, the reason for that one, many people our Asian people didn't know many things, how they can be done easily and effectively. So somebody came from Africa, he was a priest. He initiated that idea of interfaith, knowing each other better. And they called the meeting, and I also attended from my temple because I was the president of our Penn Road temple as well. We started, moving things from there. We used to have meeting each other's house. We began to know better. And those people helped us a lot. Now, in Penfields, there were not many people living in 1965 or in 67 as well. When people came from Africa, a lot of Hindu people came to Penfield area. They were very religious people, rather some families were very religious, and they began to pray in the Pandit's house, Mr. Bari's house, and all that. Then later on, our congregation began to become bigger and bigger. Then at the end, we thought, it's better to buy a place where we can all get together. So on the Penn Road, there was a very, very old building. And it was 40 or 50 house building belonged to a dancer who happened to go to America, and later on Wolverhampton Council bought that place, and there were many, many offices that very time. Because there was a very old building they wanted to sell, so they auctioned that old building, and we bought that building for £15,000. Then we demolished and renovated that building and began to pray over there. But a lot of people, white people, didn't like that one, and they said it's an eyesore. Goldthorne Hotel started litigating with us. So it's not a viable place. It's an eyesore. You are disreputing and disrespecting our own hotel, which we want to run. So we hired a very reputed advocate, and we made them to do the public inquiry. So they did the public inquiry, and interfaith group really helped us a lot. And they showed that these people, they are feeling jealous and they are discriminating this community. They have got the right to pray over here. They are paid for the building. Why shouldn't they be here? So in those days, it was very, very difficult to lead your own life. People used to throw stones in the windows and all that. Very difficult time. But later on, slowly and steadily, council tried to give us nearly £80,000 because our committee was divided. Then we have to forfeit that money, and what we started collecting money from our own families. We didn't borrow any money at all from anybody except our own membership. So now our temple is in right glory, full-fledged. Everything is over there, and we are very proud of it. In spite of all the ill feelings, in spite of all the bad feelings in the white community. Now those are the people who are coming, white people, especially ladies, they also come to our temple. All the schools, middle and school, they come and visit us also, because this is the only purpose-built temple in Midland at that very time.
Okay, if we move on to the present day, do you feel that migrating was the best thing for you and your family now?
It's a very fundamental and thoughtful question. If you think of Indian culture, perhaps not, because our children are going to lose their own identity. They will pick up certain things from the Western culture, and they won't be able to settle in their own culture in India. So it is just an example. A tree has grown and certain branches have been broken really. These children who are born over here or living over here for so many years, it will be very difficult for them to go. But if we are thinking of our own new generation, they are doing well. Perhaps they will fight for their own rights, and if they are enjoying over here, why not? I got no regrets by bringing my children over here. I always thought that the education in this country is marvelous. If you are not a rich man or family in India, you can hardly afford to send your children in this country. So anyway, it's a huge gain educationally to your family. So I got no regrets. All my children have done well. I have done well. I got no regrets. According to my qualification, what I was capable of, I did. So I'm quite satisfied.
Do you revisit your home country, or do you have any plans to revisit?
Yes, I go after 2 years or so. But previously, first time, I went spending 14 or 15 years over here and then go back. Then I invited my parents as well. They stayed 2 years over here. They didn't like over here. They didn't like the climate. They didn't like the company sitting in one room. Especially in cold weather, it's very difficult for old people. They feel lonely because everybody has to work. Then after a year or 7 or 8 years ago, my father died. So I invited my mother again also. She stayed only 6 months, she went back. So now every year I go back to visit my mum and my family and to see how they are getting on. I love to go to India. After my full retirement, perhaps I will go too often, if I may, yes.
Do you feel that you've had an influence on the youngsters in Wolverhampton?
I think so. Being a teacher, many children have gone under my supervisions, and still I'm teaching in the secondary school. Children speak to me, very frankly, but I influence them in such a way, I don't know whether it's right or wrong, telling them to start with their parents, how hard they have worked upbringing them for their education. I always say, look at your mother, she get up early in the morning, prepare the tea, breakfast, everything for you. Look at your dad, he works 7 to 7 in the factory or somewhere. Think, what for? They have done whatever we don't have any hope. We can't progress anymore. We know we have done our part. But we want that our children should realize that how hard work their parents have done for them, and they want them to be well educated and settled in a proper career. We don't want them to work in a factory or in a sewing machine factories and all that. If they get the education and equal opportunity supports them, so obviously they got to avail this opportunity. Sometime now I go to visit children from my own class when they go on work experience, and I make them aware hard work is the key to success. There will be many tumbling blocks. Another thing, I influence them to learn their own mother tongue, which is it is our birthright to learn our mother tongue. If we don't, then there will be no difference between a white person and Asian person.
That's right.
If you go to employment place, if you got extra skill, people will employ you. So that skill, if you are getting free, please do get that skill, and that will help you. You can keep your traditions, and I always encourage girls to become teachers, because I find my own daughters very compatible in the sense there are quite a few holidays. Although they got to work, it's not a gimmick. They got to work very hard. But if you got to look after your family and all that, that is an easy option. You got 6 weeks holidays, half terms and all that. So my 2 daughters, I influenced them, and I think I have influenced quite a few youngsters during my time.
Can you tell me what you've done for Wolverhampton?
Right. Now, a lot of things I have done for Wolverhampton. The first thing which I have done for Wolverhampton is joining the interfaith group, which is a very useful and influential group. I served Hindu community, including Sikh community as well, for many, many years. For a Hindu community, I got the permission with the help of interfaith group to do the marriage ceremonies Saturdays and Sunday in our own temple, which is a very good thing. You know, on our wedding days, we don't have to do during the week, and we can do when people are free on Saturday, Sunday. They can come from various places. They don't have to take a day off or so. And we can do the things in our own ways. That's the biggest thing which we have done. Other things, joining all these communities together. And I have got that shield. That shield as well. That also show what I have done for. Then I got so many so I have done, you know, so many things. You know, I always involved in so many things. I'm a member of education system as well. I'm a member of SECRE as well. That includes RE. I helped them to make the RE syllabus. I worked free 1 year. We made Wolverhampton RE syllabus. That's my contribution as well. Then I'm a coordinator of New Cross Hospital on behalf of Hindu community as well. I go every month there to see if there's any problem. So I can help them 24 hours. If they call me even middle of the night, I go there as well. I lecture on Hinduism, and I serve this year 37 secondary schools. They come in the temple. There are so many other associations, which I'm a member of. But I am now a little bit slowing down as yeah, I think my contributions are tremendous, culture-wise. Morally, I support many good things which is happening in Wolverhampton. If anybody wants my help, they generally ring me at home. There's a directory also, Wolverhampton directory prepared by Interfaith Group. I help them as well. Then we help the hospice as well, telling them what sort of things our people don't want if they are dying. So lecturing to the nurses and these sort of things also.
Very good. Is there anything else you'd like to tell me? That's complete. I've completed my questions.
Time and
It's fine. You can just
right, yeah. No, not really. I'm a very happy man. In the sense, I got no grumbles. My family is very supportive. I don't have any financial difficulties and that sort of thing. I love to go to India and enjoy myself there. I want to help the youngsters. I am also a setter of Hindi papers also, and I can teach 3 languages, which is very convenient and that sort of things. That's it. No other mission to fulfill. I am totally satisfied. So I got to divert my attention towards God now. I have done whatever I was capable of. I got to think about my future. So I pray to God, keep me healthy and hearty. Perhaps things will go on for 10 or 20 years more. This one.
It's been very nice interviewing, and thank you very much.
Okay, Vita, yeah.